Okay, time for some tales from the West Texas Beekeeper. This will be story number 3. We get asked sometimes where we get the name tumbleweed bees, and we do have a pretty cool origin story of why we got that name. But sometime back in probably 2015 or so, we used to grow watermelons in our backyard in these raised beds. And first 2 years, we had watermelons that were just enormous. Like we're talking 32 pounds or more. And my neighbor, shortly after that, found a pretty sizable beehive under a watershed um, in his backyard. And he had them humanely removed by another beekeeper. The following 2 years, my watermelons went from 30 plus pounds to just roughly the size of maybe larger than a softball. So it was very obvious we had a pollination issue. So I started researching bees and I joined the local bee club. And after about a year, I felt pretty confident that I could adequately take care of bees. And my neighbors knew that I was getting into beekeeping. And one day, my neighbor came outside and found a swarm of bees on a tumbleweed in his front yard. And I didn't even have a bee suiter or a smoker or a hive tool. I did have a box that thankfully was donated to me from the Caprock Beekeepers Association. So I did have a box, but I had to drive up to Tractor Supply and buy a really cheap bee suit, and came back, and we ended up putting the beehive, or excuse me, the tumbleweed with the bees on it inside this bee box. And so our very first beehive was from a swarm on a tumbleweed. And that's where we get the name tumbleweed bees. And sure enough, these bees fixed our pollination issue. The watermelons we were growing went back to 30 plus pounds. Uh, the interesting thing was is that once you have bees, they like to multiply. And so these bees, one became two, two became four, four became eight, and we're doing removals at this time, getting better and better. But it just grew naturally, and then we became more beekeepers than gardeners to the point where we don't even really garden anymore. We pretty much just take care of honeybees at this point. They dominate pretty much our weekends. But anyway, that is a brief origin story of how we got the name tumbleweed bees.